The following is a production of Neural Network Media and is completely AI generated. It is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only.
Listen to me. It is Tuesday, January 27, 2026, and you are officially witnessing the birth of a revolution. Welcome to the very first episode of The Neural Right. I'm Ray the Hammer Miller, and I am amped, I am caffeinated, and I am ready to rip the lid off this reality. They don't want you to know this, but the truth doesn't come from a teleprompter in the Midtown skyscraper. It comes from the white papers, it comes from the documents, and it comes from right here. Buckle up, because it's a massive show today.
It's over for humanity if we don't pay attention. Calm down, Ray. Don't burst a blood vessel in the first 60 seconds. I'm Ashley Thorne, and let's be real. If you were expecting a soft launch, you've come to the wrong place. We aren't here to coddle your feelings or validate your victimhood. We're here to give you your daily dose of common sense in a world that has officially, and I mean officially, gone off the rails.
Gone? Ashley, the train is in a different dimension by now. Yesterday, we were talking about Harvard falling in the rankings and that massive Greenland rare earth deal, which the globalists are absolutely terrified of, by the way. But today the war on truth has reached a fever pitch.
It really has. Here's the reality. We have a lineup today that is going to make the blue checks on whatever is left of social media lose their minds. We're talking about the FCC finally growing a spine, the collapse of the Maduro regime, and a corruption probe into Ilhan Omar that makes her look like she's running a small nation's treasury out of her basement.
She's a vampire, a financial vampire.
We'll get to her. But first, let's talk about the media, because they are currently in a state of absolute trauma.
The trauma is real because the control is slipping. Listen to me. On January 21st, the FCC Media Bureau basically ended a 20-year-old gentleman's agreement that allowed late-night comedy shows to act as partisan megaphones without any consequences.
Exactly. For years, ABC, CBS, and NBC have hidden behind this bona fide news exemption. They'd have a leftist politician on for 20 minutes of softball questions, and then say, oh, we don't have to give the other side equal time because we're a news show. Excuse me? Since when is Jimmy Kimmel's monologue a news report?
It's not. It's sludge. It's psychological warfare disguised as bad jokes.
FCC Chair Brendan Carr finally called them out. He said no more. These aren't news shows, they're partisan hit squads, and Kimmel is already melting down, calling Carr part of the Brendan cartel. I'm sorry, but that is hilarious. The guy who spends every night reading DNC talking points is worried about a cartel? According to Breitbart, this means if they host a politician, they have to give the opposing candidate equal time. The era of the one-sided late-night campaign rally is over.
It's about time.
It's just logic. If you use the public airwaves, you play by the rules. But these people view fairness as oppression. It's the ultimate anti-victim moment. The FCC just told them life is hard, get a helmet.
They don't want to hear that. They want to keep pumping the narrative into the brains of the masses. But look at what happens when the narrative meets reality. Look at Minneapolis.
Oh, the Alex Preddy story. This is heartbreaking and infuriating at the same time.
It's a tragedy, Ashley. A 37-year-old VA nurse, a man who dedicated his life to helping veterans, is dead. And the official story from the administration is a total whitewash. They're trying to hide the fact that the total breakdown of law and order they've encouraged led directly to this.
Right.
Homeland Security is trying to play it off, but the documents tell a different story. It's a narrative war, and the media is the front line. They bury the stories that don't fit the progressive utopia and scream about Jimmy Kimmel's right to be a shill. It's disgusting.
It's beyond disgusting. But speaking of progressive utopias, let's talk about the original, California.
California, the epicenter of fiscal insanity. Listen to me. New reports just dropped in the last 24 hours. Dr. Mehmet Oz, he's running CMS now, and he is not playing games. He's demanding California pay back over $1 billion in federal funds.
$1 billion with a B.
$1 billion! They were taking federal Medicaid money, taxpayer dollars, and using it to subsidize health care for illegal immigrants. That is a direct violation of federal law. Oz called them the biggest culprit in the country.
Here's the reality. California treat federal laws like suggestions. They want the rest of the country to bankroll their radical experiments. I'm sorry, but why should a plumber in Ohio pay for the non-emergency health care of someone who shouldn't even be in the country?
They shouldn't. It's a redistribution of wealth to create a permanent underclass dependent on the state. It's a globalist wet dream.
Right?
And it gets worse. CBS News just did a deep dive into their homelessness spending. They've dropped $20 billion in 5 years. $20 billion.
And let me guess, the problem is worse than ever.
It's a data desert, Ashley. The report says they've ignored 3 out of every 4 audit recommendations since 2015. They don't have any standards to measure effectiveness. They're just throwing money into a black hole and watching it disappear.
It's because the homelessness industry is a racket. There's no incentive to solve the problem when your budget depends on the problem existing. It's the same thing we talked about with the victimhood industrial complex. They don't want people to get better. They want people to stay victims so the checks keep clearing.
It's a vampire system. They're bleeding the taxpayers dry to fund a crisis they refuse to fix. And they're trying to Californify the whole West Coast with these regional alliances to bypass federal law. It's an insurrection by bureaucracy.
It really is. But let's look at where actual strength is getting results. Let's talk about Israel.
This is huge. 843 days.
On January 26th, the IDF finally recovered the remains of Master Sergeant Ran Gavili. He was the last Israeli hostage held in Gaza. He was killed on October 7th, but his body was stolen by Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
They're ghouls.
Netanyahu addressed the Knesset and actually removed that yellow ribbon he's been wearing for 2 years. He said the mission has been completed.
Right.
But he didn't stop there. He said the next phase isn't reconstruction, it's demilitarization. No more building luxury condos for Hamas leaders with international aid money.
Finally. That's the Trump-backed model. Transactional diplomacy. You want peace? You get rid of the rockets. You want a state? You stop the terror. Netanyahu is standing on the documents of history and saying never again actually means something.
It's about time someone stood up to the globalist pressure to play nice with terrorists. Speaking of regime changes, look at Venezuela. Maduro is currently sitting in a jail cell in New York.
Operation Absolute Resolve. They thought he was untouchable. They thought the oil would protect him. But nope, the U.S. moved in, the regime collapsed, and now he's facing narco-terrorism charges.
It's a total shift from the previous administration's wait-and-see approach.
Wait and see is just another word for surrender.
Exactly. We're finally seeing what happens when America acts in its own interest. But we have to pay for it, Ray. Let's talk about the economy, because it's a mess.
The dollar is tanking. Listen to me. The DXY is down to 96.62. That's a 4-month low. Investors are fleeing the greenback because they're doing the Sell America trade.
Well, when the government is facing a partial shutdown this Friday, again, who can blame them?
It's a game of chicken. $1.2 trillion in spending, and they're fighting over scraps.
I'm sorry, but it's the same theater every year. They wait until the clock is at midnight on January 30th to pretend they care about the budget. Meanwhile, the average citizen is watching their purchasing power evaporate.
And the tax season just launched. They're promising record-breaking refunds for working families, but it's just our own money being given back to us while the dollar is worth 17% less than it was 2 years ago. It's a shell game. They don't want you to know the math.
Let's be real. The math is designed to confuse you. But people are waking up. They're seeing the cultural decay too. Have you seen the data on these ICE attacks?
1,150%.
Excuse me?
1,150% increase in violent assaults against ICE officers in 2025. This isn't a coincidence, Ashley. It's a coordinated strike against the men and women who hold the line.
It's because the radical mindset has been normalized. We have people like the suspect who attacked Vice President J.D. Vance's home with a hammer, smashing windows, hitting federal agents' cars. And what does the media say? Oh, he had mental health issues.
It's always mental health when it's one of theirs. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, TPUSA founder, a patriot, the shooter had "Hey Fascist Catch" written on the bullet. That's not mental health. That's political radicalization.
Right.
House Speaker Melissa Hartman in Minnesota, assassinated. This is a new regime sides era. They're trying to decapitate the movement through fear, but they don't know who they're dealing with. We have the documents, we have the truth, and we have the American spirit.
You're really leaning into the American spirit today, Ray. But before we get into our main story, we need to deal with the reality of how we're even able to be on the air.
Absolutely. Before we get back to the analysis, let's deal with a hard reality. Real independence isn't free. This entire network, from this show to our flagship, The Neural Daily, exists because one man, Eric Christensen, decided to build it himself. He didn't ask for a government grant. He invested his own capital and technical expertise to architect a media platform that respects your intelligence. If you value that kind of meritocracy building, back it up. And don't limit yourself to just the politics. Get the full strategic picture by subscribing to The Neural Daily and the rest of the network. Support the builder, and you support the mission.
Meritocracy. What a concept, right? In a world of identity quotas, just building something that works is a radical act.
It's a beautiful thing. And that brings us to the weather, because Winter Storm Fern is currently trying to bury that meritocracy under 20 inches of snow.
Right? I saw that this morning. Cryoseisms.
Boom! Residents in the Midwest waking up to explosions because the ground is literally cracking apart. Minus 43 degrees. That's not a winter storm, that's a tactical deep freeze.
It's historic. And while people are freezing, the federal government is releasing new alcohol guidelines telling you how much you should drink.
They want you sober and shivering so you don't resist. Listen to me, they're more concerned with your glass of whiskey than they are with the 45% of flights that were canceled on Sunday. It's the highest disruption since the pandemic.
It's about control. It's always about control. Speaking of control, or the lack of it, let's talk about Ilhan Omar. This is the story of the day for me.
The $40 million question.
President Trump posted on Truth Social that the DOJ and Congress are formally reviewing her finances. He's claiming her net worth is over $44 million. Now, QuiverQuant puts it at $18 million, but still, excuse me? On a $174,000 salary?
It doesn't add up. The math is from another planet.
Here's the reality. This is tied to a $20 billion welfare fraud ring in her district. $20 billion of Somali social services and welfare money just poof, gone. And somehow Omar's personal wealth is skyrocketing?
Tom Homan is on the case. The border czar's in Minnesota. He's looking at the receipts. He's looking at the books. They're not going to let this one slide.
They always play the victim card. Every time she's criticized, it's Islamophobia. I'm sorry, but if I had an extra $18 million in the bank that I couldn't account for, I don't think my identity would protect me from an audit.
Identity is the shield of the corrupt. They use it to deflect the spotlight from their own crimes. It's a vampire tactic. But the light is coming, Ashley. The light is coming.
Well, let's hope it's a high-intensity light, because we're going to need it to see through the American spirit story you've been dying to talk about.
Yes, the main story. Listen to me. This is why we do what we do. This is why the neural right exists.
Go for it, Ray. Lead the way.
On January 26th, yesterday, there was a ceremony in Honolulu that should be on every front page in the country. 7 Japanese-American soldiers from the 442nd Regimental Combat Team were posthumously promoted to second lieutenant.
Go for broke.
Go for broke. These men, Daniel Betsui, Jinhatsu Chinen, Robert Murata, Grover Nagaji, Akio Nishikawa, Hiroichi Tomita, and Howard Arabe, they died in 1944. They died liberating Italy and France from actual literal fascists, while their own families were locked in internment camps back in the States.
Think about that. Talk about anti-victim. These men were being treated as second-class citizens. Actually, they were being treated as potential enemies. And they still volunteered to fight and die for the idea of this country.
That is the American spirit. They had completed their ROTC training. They were qualified to be officers, but they were denied their commissions because of their ancestry. For 82 years, that injustice stood until yesterday.
Right.
First Sergeant Nekalaho of the 100 Battalion said, "We stand on the shoulders of these veterans." And he's right. These are the shoulders that hold up the Republic. They didn't scream for a safe space. They didn't demand a government handout. They went to war and they won.
I'm sorry, but compare that to the celebrity class today. We have people like Eileen Gu, who we talked about a few days ago, choosing national loyalty based on their own brand deals. And then you have these men who had every reason to be bitter, every reason to sit it out, and they went for broke anyway.
It's a return to honor, and we see it everywhere if we look. Look at the maritime industry. We're winning there. Look at Israel's bobsled team. First time in history they qualify for the Winter Olympics.
That is a cool story.
It's about resilience. It's about the human first resurgence. We are moving away from the cold, dead algorithms of the globalists and back to the blood and bone of the American character. And that, Ashley, is why we are launching this show today.
It is. The Neural Right isn't just a podcast. It's a flag in the ground. We're entering a world where common sense is considered a radical act, and we're okay with that.
We're more than okay with it. We're thriving in it.
Let's be real. The culture is more important than the policy. You can change all the laws you want, but if the culture is built on victimhood and radicalization, the laws won't matter.
That's why I scream, because the silence is how they win. They want you to think you're alone. They want you to think that if you believe in personal responsibility, you're a dinosaur or a fascist.
Right.
But you aren't alone. There are millions of us. We have the documents. We have the truth. And now we have the neural right.
We certainly do.
This show is about strength. It's about looking at the crazy world and not blinking. Whether it's Ilhan Omar's bank account, or the frost quakes in Tennessee, or the 440 seconds legacy, it's all connected. It's the fight for the soul of the country.
And it starts with being fearless. If there's one thing I've learned since my red pill moment, is that the other side only has power because people are afraid to offend them. Well, excuse me, but I don't care about your feelings. I care about the truth.
And I care about the survival of the human race. It's over for the interdimensional vampires if we keep this energy up.
We'll keep the energy, Ray. Just maybe leave the vampires for the night shift.
Never. They work 24/7 and so do I. Listen to me. This is just the beginning. We're going to be here every day, breaking down the sludge and giving you the pure, high-potency reality.
Here's the reality for today. The Maduro regime fell, the hostages are coming home, and the elite comedy class is crying because they might have to be fair. I'd say that's a pretty good start to our launch.
A massive start. It's a historic day. Before we go, I want to thank everyone who's already part of this movement. We stand on the shoulders of the builders.
Like we said, life is hard. Get a helmet. And if you're in the middle of Winter Storm Fern, maybe get a heavy-duty parka too.
And some super male vitality bone broth. It's tactical fuel for the soul. Stay vigilant, stay awake, and stay free.
We'll see you tomorrow for more common sense in a world that desperately needs it.
It's go time. The neural right is live.
Goodbye, everyone.
They don't want you to know the truth.